Hi, I'm Clever Ghoul, but you can call me Nikki. Welcome back to the channel. We're doing a really easy craft this week. All you're gonna need is some paint and a wooden object. I used a crate partly because I really needed one. I'm having a little bit of a storage crisis, but also because it was on sale, and if you've ever been here, you know your girl loves a sale. But really, any unfinished wood item, maybe something from IKEA, something from the craft store, whatever you feel like using. It's just important that it has a visible wood grain on it, and in fact, when I was picking out my crate this week, I went through a bunch of them to find ones that had the most variety of pattern and texture going on within it. And you want that wood grain and texture going on because otherwise, if it's too plain or too smooth, it's gonna be kind of hard to make the wood grain look colorful and rainbow. So trust me on this, look for an item with more of a variety of a wood grain going on. Before getting started, I think it's a good idea to figure out the color palette you want to use. Now, really, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. Use as many colors as you want. But this may be a little overwhelming for some people, so I really suggest going online, either Pinterest to find a color palette, or you can go to coolers.co. It's a really great site if you're having trouble figuring out a palette. I use it sometimes when painting on the iPad. It's a really good way to just distill what you want to do, and it has some cool features where you can take an image and it will create a color palette for you based on that image. So let's say you want to match the colors on your project to something in your home or even something in your wardrobe. You can take a picture of that, upload it, and it'll make a palette for you. So then you can just head to the craft store and get the paint that you need instead of just standing there in the aisle and having no idea what to go for. I would recommend using anywhere from 4 to 6 colors for this project. Now, of course, you can use however many colors you want. Use 20 colors, use 100, I don't care. Do whatever you want. But if you want to keep it more manageable, 4 to 6 is probably a good range. I would also argue though that if you wanted to do this in black and white, that could be super cool. Or if you wanted to do more of a monochromatic scheme with a few different shades of a color, that would work as well. This is totally customizable to whatever works for you, so just do what you want and have fun. With that being said, let's get into it. To start, well, it's really simple. I just picked the first color that spoke to me. For me, that was a color called Coral Blush. Basically, I started with the longer sides of the box first, and I just would go in with a brush, find a wood grain that spoke to me, and just go in with that color. Now, I tried to vary it out and do maybe 2 or 3 lengths or areas on each side of the box with one color before moving on to the next one because I didn't want to overuse one color specifically and I wanted to build up. Do different pieces, different sizes, whatever feels right to you, but just start to slowly add in the color. You don't have to put it everywhere at once. In fact, I think it's better to go slow and really think about where you're putting the color. Now, while I continue painting down below, I think it's important to go over brushes that I used for this project because different brushes yield different results. For thinner lines or smaller areas, I would use a round, pointed round, or a detailed round brush. For straighter, broader areas, I used a flat brush. Those are always great for just a straight line, big, bold area of color. And lastly, for areas where the wood grain was more rounded out, had more of a swoopity swoop here going on, so essentially the more elliptical areas, what I used was a filbert brush because it's rounded at the tip and it can help just kind of press in that round shape. Again, use whatever brushes you have on hand. I just thought I would add that tip in there in case you wanted to use it. After the coral color, I moved on to the lightest color I had, which was this off-white called Light Buttermilk. With such a light color like this, you might want to go in and do 2 coats, maybe 3 coats to really make it pop. Or if you want it to be more faint and not so in your face, you could just do 1 coat. But for me, I did about 2 coats on most areas where I used this color. I continued this process with all of the remaining colors I had, which included light orange, a blue called Provence Sky, baby pink, and lastly a citron green. I went throughout and just plotted them down color by color, and then when I was done with that, I went back in and just picked colors at random and added them where they needed to be to make it more of a finished product and to give it balance. After doing the longer sides of the crate, I moved on to doing the smaller sides where the little handle holes are. Now, on one of these sides, there was some basic stripy grain going on, but it was much more faint than the longer sides of the box. And on the other side, where the other handle was, there was almost no wood grain at all. In fact, it was really smooth. So what I did to kind of fix this and make it match the rest of the box was I just held it under the light and looked for where the wood kind of would have had a grain and just vaguely followed the lines that were there and kind of made my own shape. Lastly, I carried over any color from the long planks onto the edges of those planks that are glued down to the sides so that there's just a little element kind of tying everything together and they aren't just flat, wooden, boring sides. And with that being said, I guess it's time for the reveal. Here it is. It's hard to get into frame, but you can see one side here. I love how this turned out. I love the color palette that I chose, and while it's not your traditional rainbow, it is really fun and bold and funky, so I love it. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I do need storage, and there's just like free weights and a yoga mat and shoes, and it's all next to the wall there. It's driving me nuts. So this box is perfect. Honestly, you could use a crate like this for so many things. You could flip it over and make it a little mini table or a plant stand, which means you would have to paint the bottom. I just think it's such a fun little thing to do. It's an easy project. You could do this at a craft night with friends. You could all get a box and get a bunch of different paints and just go crazy. You could do it with your kids. Really, anyone can do this project. I really want to know, would you do a rainbow box? Would you do a monochromatic box? Would you completely ignore me and just solidly spray paint the entire thing or leave it alone? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!